All right, what's up, guys? So, like the video suggests, why close grip might not be the best bet for people who bench press with shoulder pain, right? It's a very, it's like bodybuilding lore, or the classic powerlifter style, or words of wisdom. In the case that something that stops guys from bench pressing, through the whole world, not just guys, but everyone from bench pressing shoulder pain, right? The typical presentation, especially people bench pressing, they get this anterior or front shoulder pain. Sometimes sharp, sometimes it's pretty diffuse, and they're like, "Oh, you're benching too wide, so let's bring the grip in." Mechanically, it doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about joint motion, joint arthrokinematics, um, and I don't know why it came about. And I think there's better ways to go about rehabbing a shoulder for bench press using actual bench press still. Um, doesn't mean that close grip bench press can't help anyone. Doesn't mean it hasn't helped anyone. It's probably helped a lot of people, but I'm going to circle back to that later. First, I want to show why it's probably not a good idea to go into close grip. So, this is Dominic. Dominic doesn't have shoulder pain, but he agreed to watch or do a few bench press sets for me here. So he has kind of a normal medium grip. It's not extra wide. It's not super close. It is a little close, but he's going to pause on this next rep here. Boom. For the most part, not a bad bench press technique for, just no warm up or anything. About a 45-degree shoulder angle here. It's not too far out. It's not too close. His wrist is mainly stacked on top of his elbow. It's not wonky. I think he could kind of straighten out his wrist a little bit more and have a lower touch point, but not too shabby. So we're gonna look at this from another video. So this is what a normal medium grip bench press looks like, right? So this is a close grip bench press. Hold on, there's a lot of lag time here. Not too bad, right? Still looks pretty smooth, but hold on, he's gonna pause here. Boom. There's a plane that we don't think about. Yes, we think about here, but what goes on behind the body, right? Everybody thinks about everybody thinks about shoulder flexion, so going up, but nobody thinks about what's happening when you bring that elbow behind your body. Your bicep has two attachments on the anterior part of your shoulder. A lot of times when you go to bench press, especially as the bar comes down to your chest, you're putting the proximal attachments of that bicep on extreme stretch. And a lot of times you develop a bicep tendinopathy, or a bicep, I guess you could say, pathology, and everybody just says it's your rotator cuff or shoulder pain, um, stuff like that. And I would really debate a lot of that. The rotator cuff is usually not a suspect in the uh, lifter's bag of injuries that occurs. Um, so with that being said, let me show you why mechanically I think it's not probably a good idea as well. This is right where your bicep goes. It goes into your shoulder. Sometimes people say the bicep, a lot of conservative rehab clinicians will say the bicep's the fifth rotator cuff muscle. Sometimes, and it's more of a chicken versus the egg, when you get a rotator cuff pathology, there's a lot of times a bicep tendinitis pathology along with it. So it's which came first. The bicep developed the tendinopathy due to the rotator cuff not doing his job, or vice versa, whichever it might be. But um, with that being said, yes, close grip can be a good thing to do for rehab because it is a load management technique. That is why a lot of people have been able to, rehab their shoulder with bench press. They were using a variation that decreased the weight that they were using, aka taking stress off the body. It's not using as much weight or having to heave around as much weight. They probably weren't able to do as much because it was a harder variation. And they were probably okay still feeling a little bit of pain, because that's what happens with the tendinopathy. Moving into pain a little bit is probably a good idea, just because that means you're actually using that affected tissue and you're growing and building it, as long as it's within your sensitivity, within your tolerance, right? So Close grip can be a good way to do a load management technique, but I think there are better ways to do that. So a really common one that I do, and you kind of take a from Louis West Side stuff. This is a pin press. Very common way to limit how much shoulder extension you get, but you can still really load up the bench press, and you take away that bouncing or that elastic stretch that happens too when a lot of people are rushing down. It's a quick motion too, and that could be another part of what's going on. So, boom, controlling it on the way down, pause, and right back up. A thing that you can do is board presses as well. You can put chains or bands on the side and really work that lockout, so you still get a significant training effect, training stimulus, while resting a sensitive area. And by actually still working through a partial range of motion, you do get a benefit and a crossover to the chest. So what I would do is I would try to find a day where you can overload this for a couple weeks. After that, add in a secondary bench day with lighter weight, but you do the full range of motion, so you can still feel it out. Nice, easy tempo, going right back forward. Um, that's probably a classic shoulder. Not necessarily a super acute shoulder, but someone that's been dealing with a nagging shoulder pain for a little while. That's in the front of their shoulder. That's a classic program example to get back to benching as quickly as possible. Now, oh, I guess I can't expand this window. With that being said, like I've been saying this whole time, because I know somebody's going to be like, well, I did it and I did close grip and I was fine. It's a load management technique. That's all it is. There's not one set path to getting stronger, to getting out of pain. There's a million different avenues you can go about. What I want to do is try to make it happen faster for people, get stronger faster, still get a training effect faster than they would typically with what's going on, rehab faster, right? Um, you can keep the close grip if you want. You can go back to a medium grip. I would actually say try a wider grip if you're having pain, if you're not already out there. You want to find something as close as possible to what you're doing that's still within your tolerance, your sensitivity, and just fucking work that as much as you can. Again, you can still do close grip. I know someone's going to say it. That's why I'm repeating this so often. I just think there's better, faster ways. And I think utilizing your resources, like modifying your bench press, is going to be the quickest, most rapid way to get better. You can lay on your side and do a million external rotations, but if your rotator cuff is not the problem, because it's most likely a bicep tendinopathy or bicep pathology going on, if you don't actually use that tissue, it's not going to adapt, it's not going to load, it's not going to heal properly. So, close grip could be a version, but I think there are just better ways to rehab a painful shoulder on bench press. And shout out Dominic, thanks for letting me film you in the middle of rush hour at the gym.